day, Brittle Planet listeners. This is Eric Peterson, quarantining from Salt Lake City today. And today I am joined by Mick Jeffries of Aversions Crowned. How are you doing today, Mick?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Where are you quarantining from?
I'm currently in a place called the Gold Coast in Australia.
Nice. And how are things down there?
Yeah, I think we're pretty fortunate where I am. Australia hasn't sort of been hit anywhere near as hard as a lot of other countries have by the sort of coronavirus. But obviously we still had all the lockdown procedures put in place and all that kind of stuff. And things are just starting to ease up a lot over the last sort of week or so. And they're just putting in sort of steps to reopen things at the moment over the next month or coming months. And yeah, things are starting to ease up again and hopefully everyone's slowly getting back on track with, being normal again.
Yeah, and you guys are just going into winter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so for us, winter starts in June. So, yeah, we're sort of opposite season to you guys who are just coming into summer.
Yeah. So is the has the lockdowns and stuff affected you guys much as far as anything other? I mean, I know touring it has, but as far as like anything else, has it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously touring is the biggest one. We were supposed to actually have been in the United States during March and April, and I believe we were actually going to play in Salt Lake again this time. So,
oh, were you? Okay.
But yeah, we had an extra show. I think added. It wasn't on the original schedule, but I think they added a Salt Lake date. So yeah, we were supposed to be over there, but we flew over to begin our tour, and we played the first show in Philadelphia and found out that night that the rest of the whole tour had been cancelled and every state had closed all their venues within a few hours, and we had to sort of just find an emergency flight back to Australia and leave the country.
Wow.
So it was a pretty crazy experience, but fortunately we all kind of were able to get back to Australia safe and well, and big bummer and a big financial blow to the band obviously, but a lot of other people have had it very tough, and we're just fortunate that everyone's okay and we can kind of just be back home safe and wait for this to blow over.
Yeah. So when you did that one show, were you able to play some stuff from your new album, Hell Will Come for Us All?
We played one new song. We played The Soil, which was the first single we released off the album, and it actually was released that day. So we released the single, announced the album, played one show, and then had to pack up and leave the country. So,
wow.
Yeah, just as we were kind of all getting excited for the release of everything, and then, yeah, it just sort of all flipped on its head within a couple of hours.
Wow. So I've been checking out the new album, and you guys released Xenocide in 2017, and now you have this new album coming out in June. This seems to be like a new beginning for you guys with your new vocalist, Tyler. And what has Tyler added to the mix for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. It's been awesome having him on board for this process as well as, the end result. So for us, he brought a lot of things to the band, but one of the things that I loved about his songwriting approach was the way he really wanted to try and service the song with the way he approached his vocal patterns and lyrics and melodies and all that kind of stuff, which before I felt like the band had always kind of had a really melodic musical sense to a lot of our songs. Even though it is a brutal style of music, it always kind of had that element to it. And I think the one thing that we always wanted was a bit more of that in the vocal side of it as well, and trying to add more vocal hooks and sort of lines that stuck out, and even some melody in the vocals and all that kind of stuff that we'd never kind of been able to do before with previous vocalists. And he kind of stepped up and he was sort of on that level with us. And yeah, it was just a really cool process to see what he came up with for the songs we'd written and the way he approached them. And yeah, it was really cool for us.
So when he joined the band, was there a little bit of a honeymoon phase? Or, I mean, when he joined the band, did you guys just get right down to business and say, let's do this?
Yeah, so the way we met Tyler was we had to find a fill-in vocalist for a European tour we were doing early last year.
Okay.
And we were kind of contacting a few people that we already knew, but they were unavailable. So then we'd heard his vocals on the previous band he's been doing called The Guild, and really liked the sound of his voice. So we contacted him just out of the blue and explained the situation and sort of sent him some instrumental tracks to put some demos over to hear how his voice would sound on our stuff, and we loved the sound of it, and he was just sort of super responsive and interested straight away, and was doing everything he could to kind of, you know, for him it was a cool opportunity and he really wanted to do it, and he just kind of did everything he could to be the person that we used for that tour. And as soon as we took him over there, we all, you know, thought he did such a great job on the tour, and we all got on really well with him, and just it felt like a good fit for the dynamic of the band musically and just personality-wise. So as soon as it was time to do the album, he just kind of felt like the natural choice. And, yeah, and it was, you know, there wasn't really a honeymoon phase for him. He was just kind of put to work. Yeah. We just kind of said, bang, here's an album, write the lyrics, get ready to record, and off he went. So we were, we kind of, you know, threw him in the deep end with that, and, you know, he did a great job, and we were going to sort of just be ready to work, all of us, pretty hard this year with the touring side of things, but unfortunately that's got to wait for a little while now.
So you mentioned the song The Soil, which was your first single. It's a very heavy track with some dark imagery in the video. Where did you guys come up with the idea for the video?
Yeah, we kind of wanted to do a couple of videos for this album. So, and the fact that Tyler is kind of based in another country, to us, we had to kind of make effective use of limited time we had to do these kind of things. So we had all these concepts for certain songs and what was going to work for music videos and stuff. And yeah, that one was one that we just kind of thought was going to work. It was, and we also just did another clip that we released for one called Born in the Gutter. And I think Born in the Gutter was one we had a bit more of a vision for how we wanted the visuals in the film clip to turn out. Yeah. The Soil was kind of, you know, we gave our directors, you know, lyrics and some basic imagery, and he kind of worked on that one a lot more. But with Born in the Gutter, you know, the lyrics are quite, you know, powerful with the message and that kind of stuff, and it just lent itself to the imagery in the clip a lot more, I guess. So, that was a really fun process as well for us.
Well, when you think you can't get any darker than The Soil, like you said, you go to Born in the Gutter, and that song, I mean, the imagery in that video is just real life stuff, which is, I mean, you look at it and you go, man, this is deep stuff. Where did the idea come up for that song? I mean, who wrote that song? Was it Tyler?
Tyler wrote all the lyrics for the album, yeah. So that was one that he kind of came to us with. So when we started writing tracks with him, the previous albums the band had done had pretty much all been kind of sci-fi themed and you know, things with alien existence and all sorts of different science fiction themes and that kind of stuff. So he started writing lyrics for the new album with that in mind, and we started doing a few tracks with that. But it was time for us to try something new. We'd been doing the same thing for quite a long time, and also having a new person in the band, we wanted to sort of see what he could bring in terms of lyrical content and ideas and imagery and that kind of stuff. So that was one of the first ones he kind of brought, you know, to the table with a completely different sort of theme to anything we'd done before. And obviously we just really connected with it on a personal level, but it just really suited that song that he'd written it for, and just the vibe of everything to do with it. And we thought, wow, yeah, we're onto something with this, and let's see what else we can kind of come up with. And he just kind of kept working on ideas, and as we were kind of all just sort of going through it all and just connecting them to the specific songs and stuff, and it just kind of all felt pretty organic and natural for us to do all that and just try these new ideas out with the music.
Nice. And then, so are there any songs musically on the new album that have any special meaning to you?
I mean, they're all kind of pretty unique sounding songs to me for us. I feel like, because the album was sort of written over a couple of years, I guess, we writing songs and demoing them almost as soon as Xenocide came out. We were just, the creative juices were flowing musically, so songs were just kind of getting written and just sort of put aside and ready for when it was time to put an album together. So we had this collection of songs to kind of work with and start sort of workshopping when it came down to tracking the album, and songs that we'd kind of thought, this idea is okay, but I don't know if it's really going to work as an Aversions Crown song. And one that I think was one of those was the second last track on the album, which is called Sorrow Never Sleeps.
Okay.
And that was one that we kind of thought, look, it's got potential, but we don't know if it's really going to work for us. It's a bit different to the stuff we normally do. And anyway, at the end of the day, we decided we'd give it a go, and we tracked it in the studio. And as soon as Tyler's vocals came in and all these extra layers were added into it, it ended up becoming one for me. That was one of the standout tracks on the album, and I never thought that was going to be the case at all.
Well, that's interesting, because a lot of times you feel like you get kind of set in your ways, probably recording and making music, and then all of a sudden something comes up different and you go, nah, I'm not too sure about that. And then you hear the final product and you just go, wow, that was really cool.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's funny when that happens, and sometimes it can be the opposite. You think, oh, this is going to sound great, and then once you kind of put it together, you're like, oh, maybe it just doesn't actually quite work. So yeah, it can work both ways sometimes.
So you got to play the Soil on live. What other songs from the album are you looking forward to playing live?
Yeah, well, obviously, Born in the Gutter, the other single, is one that I'm really keen to play live. It's definitely one of the faster and more aggressive songs we've written, and I think the whole album we kind of wrote really having this, how it would translate to the stage in mind. Whereas previously we've kind of written songs on the album that we never really thought about if they would work in the live setting, and as we've kind of, got into the rehearsal stages for tours and started jamming on songs, and we were just like, maybe this one isn't really going to work in the live setting, and we'd sort of change it out of the set list. But this one, I feel like every song on this record, it could really translate well to the live setting. So,
nice. And then so do you find with you guys, I know some artists, depending on where they're playing and the bands they're playing with, will adjust their set list and create a set list based on the bands they're playing with. Do you guys do that at all, or do you just say, here it is, this is what we're doing, and deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily do it depending on what bands we're playing with. I mean, I usually try and push to have songs in the set list that we haven't played in that place before. So if we're doing a North American tour, I'll look at our set lists from the previous tours and go, all right, well, these are the songs we did here last time. Let's try some different ones so that people who come and see us again will get some different tracks. And so trying to sort of dig into the back catalogue and pull out some different songs, whereas, we might have toured Europe a whole heap of times, and each time we go there, there's always certain songs that remain in the set list that are kind of the staples, but I always try and make sure we incorporate other ones from the back catalogue that we haven't done, or maybe haven't done for a while, or just to kind of keep it fresh for people who are coming back to watch us again, which we hope people do.
Yeah. And then do you feel like you guys have toured quite extensively, do you feel like the crowds in your homeland are how do they react versus crowds in the United States versus crowds in Europe? I mean, do you see differences in those crowds to your guys' music?
I mean, it's pretty diverse crowds all around every part of the world, but even within countries, like when you tour around the United States or Australia, even though, it's a country, a big country that's everyone's kind of the same in one way, like each city you go to has a different feel. Like there'll be, like the way people mosh in New York City is different to the way, people might mosh in Texas and stuff like that. And
no, I bet it.
Yeah, so like I remember the first time we played in New York City, and it was like a cross between like WWE wrestling and moshing and breakdancing, and all this stuff was going on. I'm like, wow, I've never kind of seen anyone do things like this before. And yeah, so it's kind of the same in different cities in Australia too, I guess. Like, I mean, we play in Sydney, and and I just notice every time we've played in Sydney over the last few years, people will do this like rowboat move, which I don't see in other cities. And it's always just a slightly different dynamic in every place you play. I think there's always some things that are kind of similar, but each place has like some unique thing that they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your music tends to bring out the energy in people. So if, depending on how it brings it out, I'm assuming it would probably affect what they do. So,
Exactly.
I can't see people just sitting there banging their heads to you guys.
And I mean, sometimes people do that, and that's cool too. Like we might play, another country, and the majority of the crowd will just headbang, and and it's weird. With the night before, everyone's kind of jumping off stuff and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and then the previous night, everyone's just kind of headbanging, and you think, wow, does this mean that they're not into it? But then as soon as you finish, the merch desk is swamped, and people are saying, this was great, we loved it. And everyone just has their own way of showing, appreciation and getting into music. And I mean, I'm not someone to necessarily get in the mosh pits and stuff these days. I'm getting a bit old, so I'll often just be up the back watching a band and headbanging, and I might be thinking this is the greatest thing ever, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be running in and stage diving anymore and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all different.
Well, plus you got to play the next night or the night after, so you don't want to bang yourself up so you can't play.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the new album, Hell Will Come For Us All, is there any special packages available for the album when it's released? Do you have some vinyl? Do you have like some t-shirt packages and stuff? Do you have anything special?
Yeah, we do. There's a couple of different pre-order packages available. And for the United States, they're through indiemerch.com, I believe. Okay. And also through Nuclear Blast store itself. So I know that there's vinyl. I think there's a couple of different vinyl variants available between the two different stores. And there's, I think, through Indie Merch, there's a pack with a T-shirt and poster and CDs and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely a few different options for the collectors and all that sort of stuff, as well as being able to pre-order it just sort of through iTunes and online and that stuff as well.
Nice. So what else right now I know there's no touring and stuff. What else can people do to help support you guys?
Well, yeah, like I said earlier in the interview, we were pretty unfortunate with the circumstances of being sent home one day into a tour. So we'd printed a whole heap of merch for that tour that we were unable to, sell on the tour, but it's all gone up onto the indiemerch.com website now. So they've got all of our leftover tour merch from that tour. So if people want to, support the band and pick up a T-shirt or a hoodie or a hat or any of that kind of stuff, it's all available on sale through Indie Merch. If anyone was going to come to a show and grab a shirt, then you can still do that off the website, and that'll really help us out.
Oh, that's neat, because I have to go check that out, because I bought a Insomnium shirt because they had they were going to be touring too, and I was like, I'm really excited to see these guys, and then it got canceled, and I thought, what better thing to have than a shirt from a tour that got canceled? I mean, that's like to me like the rarest thing you could get, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to go check out your guys' merch. That'll be really fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's probably a lot of bands, like obviously all the bands on our tour package, but I'm sure there's plenty of other bands who've been put in the same situation, and any fans that want to help out, just doing anything like that, buying a shirt from your favourite band goes a long way at the moment.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, I wanted to see if you could name a song of yours by either title or by content that best describes the state of the world today.
Yeah, wow. I guess for me, probably the obvious choice right now is going to be Hell Will Come For Us All. Kind of seems like the most fitting title considering the circumstances of the world with the global pandemic that everyone's affected by at the moment.
Yes, that's a great pick, and you know what? In all reality, it could be the soundtrack for the pandemic too.
Exactly. Yeah, it kind of worked out like that without us really predicting it. So yeah, it's funny the way things pan out sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, and it's been great talking to you, and I'm so excited for this album to come out and hear if you got any more singles coming out after this, just to to see what you guys come up with through imagery and stuff like that. So it's always an exciting time with bands, you know, when they got a new release.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. We're excited to get it out there, and hopefully we can get back to the United States again soon. And we've played in Salt Lake City, I believe, twice before, so we look forward to playing there again.
Great. Yeah, and so everybody go pick up the new album when it comes out on June 12th, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for chatting.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me.
All right.